What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're taking you through almost our last Pale Heart weapon with the False Idols. This is a heavy vortex frame sword with that dealer's choice origin trait, of course, with some pretty good PvE perks. We're definitely going to be focusing on that because PvP side of things definitely want something that has that eager edge potential, in my personal opinion. So this is not that great in PvP, but lots of options PvE. So first off, our dealer's choice. Obviously, those final blows grant a small amount of super energy. Equipping multiple weapons from the Pale Heart increases this, so allows us to get a good chunk back of that super energy, especially when we are using 3. So you could use this, no hesitations, in the call and be able to juice the dealer's choice origin trait. So we got the Vortex frame right here, PvE, PvP. This won't change. This is our only option, giving us plus 10 to our impact. Definitely nice for the PvE side of things, allowing us to have it at 70 almost, and with that heavy tack, obviously we get that nice spin, allowing us to do some pretty good damage, especially with our 3rd and 4th column perks. Right here inside of the 1st column, we got our blade. I would go with Jagged Edge for sure for the PvE realm. It gives us the most damage at the cost of sword ammo, but we are using backup mag as our mod because we lost all of those boss spec stuff like that. So throwing on backup mag with Jagged Edge really takes away that cost of ammo. Now when we move on to our guards, for me, I like to build mine out for resistance and endurance. This right here with heavy guard does give us a little less in the charge rate, which does help with the vortex side of this weapon, giving it the charge a little bit faster for those spins at max damage. But I personally like heavy guard, especially if you're using it on something that isn't like a stronghold titan where it maxes out that guard potential anyways. So I would use heavy guard if I were you, but you do have other options if you want. Build it into more of the charge rate if you want that DPS to be slightly higher. 3rd column, we got a couple options. First one I'm gonna go with at least is the Relentless Strikes. This is what I think is the best, especially with this vortex and bait and switch in our 4th column. Gives us those 3 light attacks, improved the ammo back when we do hit those in a row. So when we're doing damage on a boss, we're gonna get a little bit back as long as we're using those 3 strikes. We charge it up, use our spin, use some more little hits, then use our spin, and bada bing, it is the most optimal perk in my opinion here to keep that ammo up and keep it damage up. Now since we are getting up close and personal, mostly using this for the DPS side of things, dealing sustained damage creates slightly improved orbs of power, so you can sit there, keep popping wells, keep popping rain of fire, something like that. So totally up to you if you want attrition orbs. I still think that the Relentless Strikes is the best, also a very good option right here with this. As for our last trait in the 3rd column, we have Incandescent. Defeating targets spreads a longer lasting scorch to those nearby targets. Powerful combatants and opposing guardians cause a larger radius of that scorch to spread. If you're using this for the solar synergy add clear potential of the weapon, definitely a viable option for sure. But I really do think that if you're throwing this on for damage, we'll go with Relentless. If you want that add clear, I would go with Incandescent. In the 4th column, we got 4 options again, 3 in the 3rd, 4 in the 4th. But first off, my god rule, definitely going with bait and switch. Relentless bait and switch is the way to go. So dealing damage with all of our weapons in a short time gives us that damage boost. Now this obviously isn't going to be the highest damaging sword since we got those wild combos of stuff like Vorpal bait and switch, surrounded bait and switch out there, but this is still going to be a very good option, giving us that juicy damage with bait and switch, at least in my opinion, especially with Relentless Strikes. Sticking us with the damage side of things, we got Vorpal, gives us that damage boost against those bosses, vehicles, guardians, and their supers. Plus, we have increased guard resistance when we use this, my personal favorite on a sword. But again, it'll just help us to juice those bosses a little bit more. Consistent damage, instead of having to hit those targets with every single one of your weapons, you just have that blanket Vorpal. 3rd option for the Surrounded right here is another damage side of things. This weapon gains improved damage when we're in proximity to 3 or more targets. Will be something like Crota. We can get this to proc, maybe a couple other bosses, but not that crazy of a perk in my opinion, unless it is proc, because we're getting like 40% on these swords, 35%, something crazy, just because we're surrounded. But again, it's hard to get proc in everyday encounters, so would be on the lower side for me. I would go with Vorpal or bait and switch first, but if you can get surrounded to proc, it is going going to do a little bit more damage. Now, last but not least, for that add clear, pairing this with incandescent, in my opinion, chain reaction with that incandescent causes a bunch of scorched solar explosions to go on. Because of the chain reaction, we also get that improved guard because of chain reaction. So just a little bit of everything that I've been talking about for the PvE realm has both of the roles, add clear as well as the DPS side of things. Like I said, not as good as some of those crazy falling guillotine slammer rolls that we got, but it is definitely up there for that damage, especially since it's got bait and switch on it. So I'm going to give it about a 3.8, a 4.0 overall for our swords that we have. I think we got some better ones for sure inside of the PvE realm. And then, like I said, PvP, going to go over a quick roll that might be good, but I really do think that there are better options because of Eager Edge out there. So we'll cover that right now. So like I said, this Vortex Frame Impact is our only option for doing that damage, no matter what. If it's PvP, PvE, this is our only entranced in Hinzik. In my opinion, I would go Jagged Edge once again, just because it does the most damage. Not that a sword isn't going to get a one-shot kill anyways, but this will give you the most damage possible, especially if you go with something like Vorpal in our 4th column to help with those Guardians in their supers. So I would go Jagged. Once again, in this column, I'm going with Heavy Guard. We don't have to worry about the charge rate in Crucible. Plus, we're getting almost 80 in both of these columns, or I guess I should say 72 in Resistance, 80 in Endurance. So we're able to absorb a lot of damage for a lot longer. If you're using this to block in the Crucible, get close to somebody because you're not going to be able to Eager Edge like on some of the other swords we have for the Crucible. Now, in the third column right here, our first option is Unrelenting. When we get some defeats on those Guardians, it's going to give us even more health because they count as more than one target based on this trigger for getting those defeats. But again, not really liking this sword as much in PvP as the PvE side of things, but you can go on some tears if you're getting a lot of those defeats at once. Second option for me, I guess I would go with Strategist because I'm not really using this for 6s or add clear, anything too crazy like that, but I'll be able to get some class ability back. And in the Crucible, love having that Rift, love having my dodge back as well as my shield. So a pretty good option in the 3rd column. 4th column, first option, we got Vorpal. Like I said, gives us that steady damage increase against Guardians in their super. Plus, we have even more of that guard resistance on this bad boy. So Vorpal was what I would go with as my #1 choice, but you could go with one other option in my opinion, especially for 6s if you want, so you could get that Surrounded to proc. Not sure how easy this will be to get to proc, but Surrounded, obviously, we're going to get that damage increase. Not that we need it as much, but if you're going inside of a well, something like that, inside of Trials using this, you get this Surrounded to proc, might be able to do a little bit more damage and wipe those Guardians out of the well. So that would be my options, I guess, for the PvP side of thing. I'm going to give this thing about a 2.2, 2.3 out of 5, just because Eager Edge swords are definitely way better. You don't have to worry about closing up with that guard. You have to actually use your brain sometimes with this kind of sword because it's all about guarding and getting close instead of just yeeting yourself across the map and having that nice aim assist on Eager Edge really proc and hit some Guardian out of nowhere. But hopefully y'all can grind out these weapons over this break right here for the beautiful 4th of July. If you guys celebrate it, have some fun, be safe. I appreciate all you guys for coming back to the channel. As always, means a bunch to me. Hit that subscribe and bell button if you would like, so you get those notifications on the channel here. Don't miss out on any of these guides for the god rolls as well as builds that we got. And again, appreciate all you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.